We've left our rocking chairs to show the children that we care. We rage to save the world. They tell us the economy depends on fossil fuels, but the future of our planet is not looking very cool. We may look like the fossils, but we are not fossil fuels. We rage to save the world. No more dribbling, no more fragging. Time for action, not just yakking. We left our rocking chairs to show the children that we care. We rage to save the world. Yes. We rage to save the world.
Good morning. Welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Rev Sally, and I am delighted to serve as minister to this congregation here on the treaty land of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. It is wonderful to be here with you all. Many thanks to our guest musicians, the Raging Grannies, for our gathering music. These Raging Grannies are one branch of a wider movement of Raging Grannies across the U.S. and Canada, standing up for peace, social justice, human rights, indigenous rights, and the environment. Grannies are always recruiting new members, and if you are interested after today's service, you can find them at our activity table for more information and a chance to join up. The Raging Grannies will be singing with us and for us throughout today's service. And we will also be hearing from another guest, Laura Sewell, the Director of Partnerships and Outreach at an organization called SeedChange. SeedChange works with smallholder farmers and builds resilient, diverse, and sustainable food systems. And Laura will be offering our message of inspiration today. For those of us in person, remember to be aware of the various needs and boundaries of one another while we're together, honoring our mask-required seating area and keeping aisles clear for mobility devices. We're a community of many ages and abilities, which means we embrace whatever little noises or distractions might come from being together here in shared space. If you have a phone or other device that can be silenced, I invite you to do that now, unless you need that device in order to participate in the service. And know that our services usually go about 90 minutes, so if there's anything you need during that time to make yourself comfortable, feel free to move, stretch, go get a glass of water, or step into our wiggle room, which is just a side room with a comfy couch and some toys where you can close the door and continue to hear what's happening without being heard yourself. We also have, of course, our activity table where there's toys, fidgets, arts and crafts supplies, and the coolest people in the room, I think. If you're new and would like us to keep in touch, feel free to fill out a newcomer card. You'll find it in the back of the chairs with your contact information, and just leave that in the offering plate when we pass it later in the service. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your relationship to religion, to spirituality, and to this place, we are glad you are here today. So let's take a moment and remember we are here together and turn to greet those who are here with us with a good morning, a smile, a wave. And remember to also wave at those on Zoom, including our guest speaker, Laura. Thank you all. And we know that there will be many opportunities to continue these connections and conversations after the service over coffee and treats together. We are gathered today on sacred land that has been home to indigenous communities for many thousands of years. The Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations are the treaty holders of this land, and the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, lived here before me and are living here now, together with other First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. As a newcomer to this land, most recently arrived from the Midwestern Prairie region of the United States and descended from English and German settlers there, I commit to deepening my own understanding of local indigenous communities and honoring the ongoing fight for autonomy, liberation, and the protection of this earth. Acknowledgement is a symbolic gesture. This alone is not relationship, reconciliation, nor reparation, but it is worth pausing every time we gather to recenter the responsibility we each have to land and community, to recommit ourselves to taking action in support of Indigenous lives and efforts. Amen. And now, to draw us all deeper into this sacred space, I invite you to join me in reading or listening to our shared invocation, words written by our founding minister, Reverend Wayne Walder. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the world to change, we must craft in our space and in ourselves the seeds that grow a different kind of life. A life of graciousness, of creative intelligence, a place of life and spirit for ourselves and our families. The symbol of the flaming chalice was first adopted by the Unitarian Service Committee in the 1930s, intended to be a sign of safe harbor for refugees fleeing Nazi-occupied Europe. It has since become a central symbol for Unitarian Universalists everywhere, and we light its flame whenever we gather to mark out this time and space as special. I would like to invite our new Director of Children, Youth, and Family Programming, Kat Martins-Gray, forward to light our chalice this morning. And I invite all of us to join in singing our chalice lighting song. Thank you. And now I will invite our Raging Grannies forward once again to sing our centering music.
We're just a gaggle of grannies, but we've got enough of our fannies. We sing 'cause we care, politicians beware, we're watching you.
The grannies are delighted to know that we are on the CSIS watch list. So we are criminals, and we have our criminal grand song. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
We're criminals exposing stuff that's going wrong, belting out our biting messages in song. We poke and we cry and then expose what you'd prefer that folks don't know. We're old, we're winkle danger, we're pesky raging grannies. Try and put the lid on, try and shut us up. Pepper spray won't do it, nothing makes us stop. We've been around and we don't scare. We're here, we're there, we're everywhere. Don't even think to cross us. Here comes the Raging Grannies.
Thank you. Unitarian Universalism as a tradition does not have any singular creed or a set of beliefs about God or the afterlife or the nature of the universe. Instead, we share common values and principles, aspiring to build a world and live lives that honor our highest ideals. Our Sunday services for the month of January are centered on the fifth principle of Unitarian Universalism, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. This principle is one that exists in tension and balance with itself. Like our fourth principle, which asks us to be both free and responsible in our search for truth. In the fifth principle, we commit to honoring our individual conscience and engaging in democratic processes where our individual preferences might need to bend to group consensus. The right to act in accordance with your own beliefs is sacred, as is the responsibility of giving others equal voice in group decision-making, even when it's hard. Our speaker today will be Laura Sewell, who has more than 20 years of experience in international development, peace building, and humanitarian work. She focuses on the connections between gender equality, food security, climate change, and community resilience. Laura has designed, implemented, and evaluated programs across Africa, Asia, the Middle East, the Caribbean, and brings a global perspective to her work supporting communities and farmers. She knows the real work of community decision-making and cross-cultural consciousness raising, and will share with us some of the lessons that she has learned in that work. We are grateful that she is here to speak with us and grateful for her perspective. And of course, the Raging Grannies are voices of the collective public's conscience, speaking up on all our behalf, demanding that those with power use it to the benefit of the many instead of the few. I will invite them forward. They are going to lead us in song. So they're going to lead us in an opening hymn, Radical Environmentalists.
One, two, three.
Oh, we're radical environmentalists. Yes, we're radical environmentalists. We like clean air and clean water and our beaches in good order. Oh, we're radical environmentalists. Oh, we don't like energy from fossil fuels. And we know that fracking kills, we ain't no fools. And we'd rather see those windmills soar than nuclear plants on our shore. We're radical environmentalists. We've seen drilling, we've seen fracking in our time, but we'll stand against the Trans-Mountain Pipeline. We don't want their gas and oil knocking up our water and soil, 'cause we're radical environmentalists. Yes, we're radical environmentalists. When people mess with Mother Earth, it makes us pissed. So get out and tell the others that the Earth is still our mother, then you'll all be true environmentalists.
Beautiful singing.
All right, this is the time in our service when we tell a story or do an activity that is intended to be a little more engaging
For folks who, might not actually enjoy sitting still and listening to someone talk for the entire time we're together. So as I tell the story that I'm going to tell today, I invite you to shout back, ask questions, tell the characters what they should or shouldn't do as you learn about how their story evolves. And if you want to come closer during the story, you might get a little sweet treat, because this is a story about seeds. And I didn't have a whole lot of seeds in my house at this time of year. I did have a whole lot of leftover marshmallows from holiday baking projects. So this is a very old story. It was first written down by Arab travelers who were traveling the world in Iran and India and recording songs and stories and folktales of the regions that they were encountering. This is a story about a game called chess, and a story about food. So once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there was a kingdom where all the people were hungry. But they weren't hungry because there wasn't any food. They were hungry because the king was keeping all of the food in the royal granaries. What do we think of this king? So the king was keeping all of the seeds, all of the rice and grain stored in a great royal vault. And he liked to just walk through the villages. That's how he liked to spend his time. And one day when he was walking through the villages, he saw all the village children were busy playing a new game. They were having a lot of fun. And the game had all these little pieces that were carved like little horses and towers, and one that the king really liked that was very tall and had a big crown. What game do we think this was? So this was a game that the children called chess, and they had invented it themselves. And the king thought, I must have this game. The king is the tallest piece. He has a crown. This is a game that's meant for me. And he said, I will give you whatever you want, children. I'll give you gold. I'll throw you a giant feast. Just give me this game of chess. And the children put their heads together, trying to decide what to do. They were so hungry. They didn't have any food at home. They wanted to say yes to the feast, but they thought that they might be a little bit clever. They were very clever children, a little bit like all of you clever children. And they thought they might have a way of tricking this king. Yes. So what do you think they should do? Should they accept the offer, or should they try and trick the king? Okay. Okay, so they decide they're going to try it. And so the youngest child goes up to the king and says, I am very small. I only need 1 seed as payment for chess. But there are as many of us as there are squares on the chessboard. So here's my proposal. What if you put 1 seed on the first square, and then on the second square, just double it and put 2 seeds? And then on the third square, just double that and put 4 seeds. And once you get to the end of the chessboard, there will be enough seeds for all of us to pay for this game of chess, and you can take it home with you. And the king thought, what should he do? Should he say yes? Yes. If you were the king's advisor, would you tell him to say yes? The king thought, that doesn't seem so much. 1, then 2, then 4. That's a very small amount of food, and I am very wealthy. I have all the food in the land in my royal vault. And so he thought, these are just a bunch of pawns. What can they possibly do? So he said, yes, I agree. I will do this deal with you, and then I will get this kingly game of chess. So we started. He put out 1, then 2, then 4, then 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, fistfuls of seeds. And soon he started to think, I may have made a mistake. By the time he got to the thousands of seeds on the third row, he sent his advisor back to the palace to get a whole sack of seeds and thought, this should be enough. He hauled the sack over his shoulder and tried to honor his promise. By the time he got to the halfway point, there were over 4 billion seeds on the chessboard. That's almost 4 tons of seeds. And the chessboard was completely buried by mountains of seeds. And, what was that? Oh, should have gone to math class. The king's advisor ran with the final bag of seeds, and he whispered to the king. Psst, psst, psst. And the king said, what? And he said, the granary is empty. And so the king emptied out the final sack onto the chessboard, onto the mountain of seeds at the top. He sat down and said, you have bested me. And the youngest child walked up to him, handed him the tallest piece with the crown, tipped it over on its side, and told him, Checkmate. The end. Thank you for listening. The power of compounded interest, the power of exponential growth. Thank you very much. And now we'll sing our recessional song with our stomping. Yeah, get us started, Allison. Thank you very much. You all give good guidance to story characters. All right, with that, I would love to welcome our guest speaker, Laura, on Zoom, to please share her message of inspiration. Thank you, Laura.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be joining you today, even though it has to be through a screen, unfortunately. I'm coming to you from Ottawa, where we just got 15 centimeters of snow overnight, and I think maybe you guys got a bunch of snow there as well. So while I wish I could be with you in person, I'll be joining you virtually for today, and then after this, I'm going to head out to play in the snow with my daughter. So my name is Laura, and I work at SeedChange, which is a Canadian charity that works with farmers here in Canada and around the world to build food and seed sovereignty, which means, in other words, we focus on supporting farmers and communities to have the freedom to choose what they grow and how they grow it so that they can feed themselves and care for the land over the long term. Some of you, many of you, may remember us as the Unitarian Service Committee of Canada, or USC Canada. And many of you will have known our founder, Dr. Lada Hitchmanova. Lada was, by all accounts, a force of nature. She started USC Canada, if you can believe it, 80 years ago. Last year, 2025, was our 80th anniversary. And at a time when international solidarity work wasn't easy or really even encouraged. And she did it with moral clarity and persistence. And like the Raging Grannies who are here with us today, she refused to accept the status quo. And so many of our supporters still feel so inspired by Lada and still have such a connection to her, and she still holds such a big place in so many people's hearts. So I wanted to start out my message to you here today by honoring her legacy, and also by thanking you for the care and support that you've shown us over the decades. Organizations don't survive for 80 years without having people with us who believe in justice and dignity and looking out for one another. And so I want to thank all of you who have supported us over the years for everything that you've been able to empower us to do on your behalf. The theme for today, which is the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process, really resonates with me and with SeedChange's work. Democracy is happening every day in SeedChange's work, especially in how farmers make decisions and share knowledge and care for their communities and for the land. So as I mentioned, 2025 marks the 80th anniversary of our organization. That's 80 years of partnership, 80 years of advancing food security and social justice alongside communities in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and more recently here in Canada. At SeedChange, we start from a simple idea. Farmers are smart. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but our global food system often assumes solutions come from somewhere else, from labs or from boardrooms or from policy offices far from the field. Our work flips that assumption. We see farmers, and especially small-scale ecological farmers, as leaders and researchers and innovators. Our job isn't to tell them what to do. It's to support them in making decisions that align with their values, their land, and their communities. When Lada founded USC 80 years ago, USC Canada 80 years ago, the organization was focused on humanitarian work. It was helping those who were fleeing war-torn Europe. Now we focus on agroecology, so we ground our work in those ideas. And if that term is new to you, and it was to me when I started first at SeedChange, Agroecology is about how we grow food and how we care for the land and for each other. It means farming in ways that are rooted in ecology, meaning building healthy soils, protecting water, and growing a diversity of crops that support biodiversity rather than relying heavily on chemical inputs. Farmers combine scientific knowledge with generations of farmer experience to grow food that's healthy, resilient, and suited to local conditions. Agroecology is also about justice. It's grounded in human rights and spends time thinking about who has power, voice, and control of our food systems. So this is all to say agroecology is not just about farming. It's a global movement working together towards more just, resilient, and biodiverse food systems. What I like about agroecology is that it asks big questions. It asks who controls our food system, who benefits from them, and who bears the risk when crops fail or extreme weather hits. These are moral questions as much as technical ones, and climate change makes them more urgent than ever. Much of SeedChange's international work focuses on women farmers. Women do most of the farming and save most of the seeds and do the most to care for biodiversity around the world in Canada and in other countries. Yet we often have the least access to land, training, or leadership activities. Through our work in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, SeedChange combines agroecology with a gender-focused approach. That means we don't just teach climate-smart, sustainable farming techniques. We also talk in our work about power, about decision-making, and about who is doing what work inside families and inside communities, and how can we work together to make that more equal for everyone's benefit. Time and again, we see that when women are supported to speak up and lead and trust their own judgment, everything shifts. Confidence grows, food security improves, communities become more resilient. I wanted to share with you an example. I didn't bring a video of this today because it's a little complicated to set up in Zoom, but one day, you might want to check it out yourself if you're an online person. In Kenya, we're working with a farmer called Martha Jenga, and she started using agroecological practices like saving seed and working to improve soil health on her farm. And she started to share what she was learning with her neighbors. And eventually, she started posting little videos on TikTok about organic farming. Those videos have been viewed now millions of times, and as of last night when I went to check her profile, Martha now has 60,000 followers on TikTok. So what's remarkable about Martha's story isn't her TikTok fame, although it is pretty impressive, and especially for a small-scale rural farmer in Kenya. It's that Martha made the knowledge she was learning through our program accessible to other farmers so that they could experiment and learn and make their own decisions. By sharing what she learned, she gave others the tools to take control of their own farm. So she helped move forward a kind of democratic access to information just by taking the steps to share what she was learning. I can give another example of rural Ethiopia, and Ethiopia is really close to my heart because I lived in Ethiopia for 7 years, and so I'm always, particularly touched by examples that come from Ethiopia. So in rural Ethiopia, they form something that's called self-help groups, which are a great example of democracy in action. I'm not sure if you've heard about these from other speakers or through your own travels and work, but self-help groups are small and community-run groups, and they're usually like 15 to 20 farmers or neighbors, and they save money together and share labor and knowledge and make decisions as a group. And these are really great examples of democracy. Each group has a pretty simple structure. The members of the groups elect leaders, and they hold regular meetings, and they vote on big decisions, including, like, for example, if they're going to give different members loans or they want to help out somebody who's having trouble, everybody makes those decisions together. Everyone has a say, and everyone is accountable to one another. It's democracy, but it's really happening at a local level. So it's a really interesting way of showing how communities can work together using this kind of democratic structure to support each other. And I can give an example. We work in the Amhara region of Ethiopia, which is a region that's really struggling right now with a lot of conflict. So self-help groups are one of the few ways that people have right now to help each other because they're not getting very much external help or help from the government because things are in quite difficult unrest right now. So one example we saw through our program in the Amhara region, farmers found that they were always short of cash just before the harvest, and they ended up having to sell their crops at a lower price than they were really worth. So they were losing the opportunity to earn what they should have been through what they were growing. They formed a self-help group, which they called Addis Alam, which means New World. And each week, everyone put a little bit of money into a shared fund. And after a year, the group they got together and they voted to invest in buying more land so that they could do more collective crop production together. And none of the people in the group could have done it alone, but because they had been sharing money together and they did it together and they did it with their shared leadership and collective decision making, they were able to create a better future for their whole community by working together to have this shared resource. I'm going to give you another example, and it's getting a bit nerdy, but another example of our democracy in our work is something called participatory guarantee systems. So to explain this a little bit, to sell crops that are labeled as organic or agroecological or that have some other kind of quality assurance label, farmers have to follow pretty strict rules, like avoiding chemical fertilizers or pesticides, caring for the soil in a specific way, or growing a mix of crops so that it can support biodiversity. And usually there's an external auditor who comes in and checks to make sure that farmers are following these rules, which can be expensive because the farmer has to pay for that external auditor to come. And external auditors are often from someplace, like from a big city, and they're not really connected to the local realities on the ground. So participatory guarantee systems is a system that does this in a totally different way. In this idea, farmers themselves set the standards. They inspect each other farms. Instead of having someone from the outside come in, they do it themselves, and they decide together whether the standards are met. So in this system, every voice matters. Every farmer votes on whether or not the standards have been met, and every decision about whether or not the standards have been met is debated and agreed upon collectively. And working in this way democratically doesn't just ensure the quality of the crops, although that's the purpose of what the system is set up to do. It strengthens the community ties, and it builds trust in the products that they're producing, and it gives farmers more confidence and control over their work. It helps them to organize and solve problems together and take collective action that benefits everyone in the group. SeedChange supports these kind of systems in Mali and Nepal and in Honduras, helping farmers maintain control over their farms, protect biodiversity, and make decisions that reflect their values. It's really a great example of democracy happening every day on the ground. Our work isn't only international, though. We're also working here in Canada. Our Canadian work supports the development of a homegrown Canadian seed supply that's resilient to climate change. We work with farmers across the country to help them to save and grow their own seeds, and in doing so, develop new crop varieties right on their farms, not in a lab the way you would see it through big seed companies. They experiment with different crops like wheats, oats, potatoes, vegetables to see what grows best in their fields and under the local conditions of the places where they're really living, and they share what they learn with each other. We do this work with organic and ecological farmers, and this is because farming in ways that care for the soil and preserve biodiversity and adapt to a changing climate is more than good practice. It's an expression of conscience. Every decision farmers make to protect the land is a choice to act in line with their values and to safeguard our collective future. So it's important to us at SeedChange that we work with organic and ecological farmers because we want to work with farmers who are aligned with us and our values, not only in the ways of working, but in why we're working and how we're working and why we're working that way. To put a human face on this, there's a farmer who we work with. He's a participant in our program in Eastern Ontario. His name is Chris Wooding. And one year he grows wheat, and one year he just had his entire crop was destroyed, except for a few plants. So he saved the seeds from those few plants that survived and replanted them the next year in the wettest part of his field. And he did that for a couple of years until finally he developed a new variety of wheat, which he's called Flood Fife, that could survive floods. So it's this kind of farm-based innovation that our Canadian program supports. There's also a policy side to our work. And to give you some example of something that we're working on right now, farmers in Canada have the legal right under the plant breeders' rights system called farmers' privilege, which is the ability to save and reuse seeds on their own farms. And farmers saving seeds on their own farms from year to year, from harvest to harvest, and selecting the best seeds and the ones that perform the best is an age-old practice. Farmers have been doing this for as long as people have been farming. And it allows them to adapt the crops that they're doing to their specific conditions, and it means that they can really find seeds and plants that can adapt to climate change, that can adapt to local conditions, and that are really sustainable without being forced to buy seed from big multinational companies every year. So now in today's modern world, most of the seeds that you buy, even the ones if you're a vegetable farmer in your garden at home, are produced by a small number of big multinational companies, not Canadian companies. So there's like 4 big multinational companies that control 60% of the seeds that are produced around the world. So farmers saving their own seed and reusing it year after year is a way of fighting back against this kind of corporate control of the seed system. And right now, the Canadian government is proposing changes that would limit farmers' ability to save seeds for certain crops like fruits and vegetables and hybrids, and would require farmers to pay royalties to the companies that produce them. This puts a serious financial burden on farmers who would have to pay every year instead of saving seed. And it also makes it harder for them to develop crops that can withstand extreme weather or shifting conditions, like the example I gave to you about what Chris Wooding worked on. So it makes that kind of adaptation more difficult. Protecting farmers' privilege isn't just about seeds, though. It's really about protecting our community's right to say how we grow food and how we adapt to climate change. If you feel, as we feel, that these changes are unfair, one way to act is to contact your MP and to exercise your democratic voice and stand up for sustainable farming, to make sure that the government knows that we want farmers to be able to save seeds over time. As I wrap up here, I hope these stories show what democracy really looks like in action on the farm, in communities, and even in the policies that we're working on. Every seed that we save, every collective decision, every choice made according to conscience is an act of courage, really. And they're small steps, but together they build resilient communities and stronger food systems and a future where people can shape the land and the world they live in. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your service today. If you'd like to learn more about SeedChange, you can visit our website, which is at weseedchange.org, or you can ask Rev Sally for my email, and you can just send me an email, and I'm happy to connect with you more. Thanks very much.
It is our practice to also light one candle each Sunday, honoring the life of a Unitarian or Universalist ancestor. And today we will light one for Lada Hitchmanova, who founded the Unitarian Service Committee of Canada, which would later become SeedChange. Lada was born in Prague to Jewish parents in 1909. She fled the country in 1938 when Nazi Germany seized parts of Czechoslovakia and was helped in her escape by the Boston-based Unitarian Service Committee. She came to Montreal in 1942, and in 1945 she founded the Canadian branch of the USC. The RCMP has since admitted to surveilling Lotta for more than 30 years of her life in Canada as a suspected communist due to her justice work and her Czech heritage. Lotta is now widely hailed as a hero, and she was one of 8 finalists for the 2020 decision of who to put on the $5 bill. So in memory of Lotta, our very own criminal gran, we light this candle. And a final candle for all the joys that are too private to share right now, all the sorrows that are too painful to speak aloud, and all that remains still held in our hearts. Know that you are caught up in a network of care, weaving throughout this community and beyond it. This candle is for you. Thank you to Sean. Now I invite us to take a breath. This is the time in our service for just a quiet moment of meditation, of prayer, of centering. And I think today of holding all of that sharing that was just gifted to us by those in our presence and in our community. There is a great deal of joy and a great deal of grief, feminine rage, celebration, concern for the future. All of that swirls around us. Let us open our hearts to feel the full expression of our shared humanity in this space. And when there is so much fear in the air, in the world, I invite us, if prayer is a practice in your personal spiritual life, find your own words to ask Spirit, the universe, or God for what it is that you need most and the world needs most right now. Let me share the words of a prayer written by a Unitarian Universalist, Laura Cowton. She writes, "Spirit of compassion, God of many names, we gather today in gratitude for the tender mercies of our lives, and we ache with grief, concern, and anger about the terrible violence in the world and the human capacity to inflict harm. We seek solace in our seeming powerlessness. We hold in our embrace all those hiding in shelters, mourning the deaths of loved ones or the tattered fabric of their lives. We pray for those with power to create peace, that they may recognize the fragile and valuable humanity of those who stand opposed to them, and see how we are all one. May all who seek comfort and safety find themselves in a place with no fear or hatred. And as we seek to build the beloved community, may we ever be guided by our faith in the ability of love lived loudly to conquer injustice, and in the human ability to love beyond belief. May it be so, and amen. I like to imagine that in these moments, our prayers, our intentions, our attention are radiating outward from this room like a warm sun, down into the earth below us, up into the sky, outward to our neighbors, reminding us that our lives do not stop at these four walls. So may all of the joys and concerns honored here, may all of the prayers, spoken and unspoken, be answered in every way possible. May you know that you are held by something greater than yourself, even if it is just those who have journeyed this path before you and those who are coming after. Thank you, and blessed be. Now, Lauren lit a candle for the many intrepid volunteers who are in here cleaning on Sunday. And this is a community that absolutely runs on the willpower and elbow grease of our volunteers. We are a self-sustained organization, meaning absolutely everything is supported by either volunteer effort or donations of our members, not by any larger church structure or nonprofit organization. Members and friends of neighborhood choose a variety of ways to support our congregation through financial offerings in our basket, online donations, e-transfers, and of course, showing up. Now is the time for our offering. The basket will be passed, and everything that goes in it will go towards sustaining the work of this congregation and our mission of empowering spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm our lives within it. So if you have found love and acceptance here, if you have found home here, if you have known kindred spirits here, let this offering be a token of gratitude for our common life as we build the common good. Let the baskets be passed, and as they are, I will share just a few of the things that are going on in the life of this extremely lively community. As I said, thank you to the many volunteers. We have there pictured just a small handful of some of the folks who were here yesterday working hard, scrubbing floorboards, scrubbing baseboards, painting walls, fixing wobbly chair arms, and working for many, many hours to help maintain our space together. Also, coming up today is the Social and Environmental Action Committee. They're meeting after coffee hour. You don't need to already be a member of that committee to attend, but just bring your own ideas and energy for justice and social action work. They absolutely welcome anyone's participation. We also have some upcoming small groups you can sign up for. There's sign-up sheets under the screen in the cappuccino room. The Active Hope group is a spiritual practice group around how to not lose hope in the dark times that we are living in. We also have a writing group that's backed by popular demand, led by Peter Marmarick. I see we have the simplified slide, which is you have 2 weeks left to sign up and talk to Peter, who will wave his arms now. Talk to Peter if you're interested. This is a beloved group, and if you haven't had a chance to participate, it's definitely worth checking out. We also have an intercongregational book group on the book 52 Ways to Reconcile. We're teaming up with First Unitarian Congregation, and we'll be meeting on Zoom to discuss. This is a very reader-friendly book. It has practical ideas, and we'll get to go through reading and discussing how we can implement those in our lives and communities. A couple of save the dates. Our annual budget meeting will be on February 1st. That will be after the service. And that will be the chance to learn in depth and vote on our budget. So we're talking about the democratic process. This is your chance. How will we spend our money next year? We want your voice involved. Also save the date for a residential school tour on February 10th, 7 p.m. That will be on Zoom, a guided tour of the preserved residential school that is nearest to us in Mush Hole. And you are invited to find more information as the date gets closer, but for now, just make sure you have it on your calendar. Always check the other slides in the cappuccino room. There's always more announcements there. If you need more info, there's often QR codes. You can write things down in your calendar. And next Sunday, our service is going to be on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and the Unitarian Universalists. It will be a message from me about the specific overlap between Dr. King and our denomination. How did they interact during his life, and how might we learn from that now? And finally, Hala, our office manager, as of January 4th, has been with us for 15 years. She is so shy, she refused to put this announcement in the Friday newsletter, which she is responsible for putting together. But if you want to leave a note on her desk in the office, she would be delighted to hear from you. She only works on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you won't often see her here on Sunday, but she is hard at work behind the scenes doing a lot of the things that keep the wheels turning here at Neighborhood. So she has been such a gift, and we want to celebrate her. That's all for the community notes for now, and I would love to invite our Raging Grannies forward to sing a closing song, Solar Carol. Oh, to lead us in singing a closing song, Solar Carol.
See the sun, how bright it shines on the nations of the earth. All who share this thing called life celebrate each day's rebirth.
service and to close our sacred space, I invite Kat forward once more to extinguish our chalice. If you can find your way through all the grannies. And we sing our extinguishing song together.
Although our chalice has been darkened, we hold the fire within our own hearts.
Thank you. And now I invite you, if you're comfortable holding hands, reach out to take the hand of your neighbor, or you might just bump elbows or put your hands on your own heart if you'd rather not. This is our neighborhood tradition. As we grow, our circle gets a little more complicated. But that's a good problem to have. Some closing words to send us out into the world. We remember that our rage connects us to our values. We feel it when we know that something happening is not right. So let us feel our rage and let us channel it in love toward a truth that we know. We know a better way is possible, and we know that we can be part of planting those seeds. So let us go out into the world, plant, water, and warm the seeds of change, and be the force of rage and love and compassion and action that we know the world needs. Blessed be, and go in peace.